Hey guys, welcome to OCD Recovery. I wanted to talk a little bit about jealousy and how that overlaps with OCD and our beliefs. So, before I go on, please subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let us know what you think. If you have any feedback, let us know about that as well. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below. And if you want any topics to be covered, we would be happy to take suggestions as well. And if you're interested in our coaching services, please reach out to Phil at ocdrecovery.com, or you can also message us directly on WhatsApp through the link in the description below. So, I wanted to talk about jealousy first, like in the context of like social commentary, which I think affects all of us these days, but then also specifically how that relates to OCD itself and the various themes that we have. And this goes for not just jealousy in the context of relationship OCD, because that's where I think it's most commonly discussed, but also jealousy in terms of career, job, attractive partners, materialistic things, achievements in life, all those things, right? Because I want to first take a look at that in the context of just like how that applies to society right now. And these are things that a lot of us have heard before, I feel like, but I think that at times what we don't identify is what are our ongoing beliefs, and the fact that I think a lot of people also just don't end up addressing it as an issue, right? Because it is a driver of a lot of frustration, anger, and self-deprecation that it leads to, the jealousy component of it. And I think then not looking at why you're thinking that way or feeling that way. So I think, like, again, in the like we know this already, that in living in a world with social media around us, right, there's a constant sense of competition in the air, and everyone is competing with one another, and anyone who feels like they are not doing enough, they feel like they're being left behind. Where they're being left behind, we don't know. It's just this vague thing of like, I'm being left behind, I'm far away, far back in the race, and I'm not as caught up as everyone else. And when we're comparing ourselves to people on social media, of course everyone feels far more, what's that word, like, basically it feels like they have far more achievements than us. They have more accolades, they have reached more of their goals, they have more in their bank account, they're better, presentable, and this and that. So naturally, when we're surrounded by everyone essentially advertising and marketing their life and themselves, naturally it is presented to you in a very packaged way. And therefore, you are going to get into a cycle of like, why am I not packaged that way? And of course, you're literally looking at things that are being presented on camera, and then you are comparing your daily life and how you look and how you present outside of the camera. And that's a very unrealistic comparison to do, but of course, like, no one is consciously thinking that, right? It's a very like automatic mental process that happens. So naturally we go into a cycle of like, I'm not as good enough as that, right? Then on top of that, so we have to also recognize, I mean, firstly, like, what are the societal factors that are at play with that, right? And I think even like in the workplace as well, I think there's a constant comparison that's going on, that other people are doing this and we are doing this. So with access to more information, and the ability to, I think, see what other people are doing as well. Naturally, you then measure yourself based off of metrics, based off of revenue, based off of, again, likes, engagement, like all those sorts of things, right? Followers, those are like then the metrics that we measure with, and because it's quantified, right? So it feels like a very accurate and justified measure that, oh, I mean, there are numbers attached to it, so I have to. And this seems like a very plausible kind of like comparison, right? So when it comes to then having OCD on top of all of this, then this very feeling gets extremely magnified, right? I think we don't realize how much of a daily messaging that we're being fed and how much we are constantly surrounded by this notion of we need to work hard, we need to work hard. There's like, you have to hustle, you have to be like, go, go, go. If you are complacent, then you are essentially like, you're not achieving enough, right? So everything is about like maximization and optimization and like full functioning capacity, all that kind of stuff. And you often can see then two extremes of people, either people who can become very obsessed with the idea of then constantly overly working on things almost in a compulsive way, but then people who are overly overwhelmed by the prospect of working hard because it feels like there's way too much to do and there is not enough time. And by the time that you even do the things that you want to do, other people already have a head start, so they will be already ahead. So then there's no point in you making an effort in the first place because you can never catch up to them because you'll never get there because they will always be ahead. So then it feels like this very overwhelming thing of like, in fact, because of feeling overwhelmed, then it goes into a complete state of procrastination, demotivation, and self-deprecation of like, I can never do this, right? But then at the same time, when you're looking at other people as well, whether you are someone who is then completely on the front of demotivated or someone who is borderline workaholic or just a full-blown workaholic, whatever spectrum you're on that front, then the beliefs over there are still at play, because it's like, so what are some of the common beliefs that then drive jealousy, right? um, I must have the things that other people have, or in fact it can be I must be the only one that has this and no one else, right? I must be at the top of the list. I must be the most important one. I must be the most sought after person. I must be the most attractive person, right? I must have the most attractive partner. Other people should envy me, not me envying them, right? Um, I must never be left behind. Even in friendships, I think when it comes to jealousy and everything, it's like I must be the most important friend for the other person. They should not have any other person that they consider more important than me. My partner must not have feelings for anyone else, or they must not have admiration or fondness for anyone else but me. I must be given the most time and attention. I must not be considered a failure. I must not be considered any less than another. And the list can go on, right? This is just me going off of what are some of the most common things that then lead to jealousy. On top of all of this, what can then happen is you having another belief, which is adding another layer of it, which is I must not be a jealous person. So then, when you are feeling jealous of someone else, then you're adding another layer of beating yourself up for even being a jealous person in the first place. So then you don't even want to admit that you're being jealous, and you just want to like resist feeling jealous. But then the more you resist feeling jealous, the more jealous you do feel as well, and then the worse you feel about yourself as a person. That how can I be a jealous person? I don't want to be a jealous person. I want to be genuinely happy for other people. Uh, it's not a good look on me that I'm a jealous person, right? So that belief also needs to be broken down as well, which is that I must not be jealous. I think I I don't know. I've never considered myself a jealous person, to be honest, but I think that because I've always been like, everyone is doing their own thing, so what's the point in comparing? But obviously, I'm a human being as well. So at times, I have gotten into the cycle of comparing myself to other people. And it's not more so of like, oh, other people should not have this and only I should have this. For me, it has been more of like, I wish I also had what they had, right? I wish I was also, this kind of thing. And then there were times where I think when I would see other people achieve things that I wanted to achieve, there would be a certain sense of like, oh, they're ahead of me in this. And I also felt like, okay, they're ahead of me, sure, but then when I will do it, then it will seem like I'm trying to copy them, or I'm trying to like it wasn't an original idea, whereas it was an original idea. I had been thinking about this for a long time, but if the other person is doing this first, then they will seem like the originator of this, not me. I don't want to be seen as someone who is copying anyone else, right? So internally there was this like fight as well that I must not be seen as this. So there's also like a lot of like I think fear of rejection and all of that can be attached to it. Like when you start scratching the surface with jealousy, then you're going to start seeing a ton of other things as well that you need to look at. Then even with relationship OCD, right, when you have retroactive jealousy, the belief is that somehow the other person having some level of importance, like their ex having some level of importance for your partner, somehow makes you less or somehow makes you inferior in a certain department, and therefore you're not like at the top for your partner, and you need to be the top in everything for your partner. And I think that kind of like then drives the jealousy factor, where you want to check, you want to ask questions, you want to know what happened in the past, what didn't happen in the past, all that kind of stuff, right? So then it's the chase for certainty. And it's a chase for, and I think what jealousy can then start doing is somehow then you want to prove that another person, like you then start looking for loopholes in that entire situation. It's like then you start trying to see that, oh, this person actually didn't actually work for this. They knew someone, let's say, in the company, and therefore they were friends with them, and therefore they got the promotion and the raise and this and that. Or it's like, oh, like that my partner's ex, he or she was, you know, um, they were actually like a really rotten person. And who cares about, this thing when they were actually like a really rotten person? Like that kind of the narrative can start making you feel quite bitter and conniving in a way about and you then just want to start to look for flaws so that you can feel better about yourself as a person then, right? So and that doesn't add a really good personality trait in you. And it really is not a good look in that sense. But I think when it comes to the belief that I must not be a jealous person, then it is also accepting that maybe you are a jealous person. That's kind of like the first step to work on it. And jealousy can also be an intrusive feeling, by the way, right? You may consider yourself not so much a jealous person, but just like any other emotion or urge or intrusive thoughts, jealousy is an emotion as well. So jealousy can be very intrusive as well. You don't want to feel jealousy, and therefore that's exactly why you will feel jealousy. So then, and of course, you won't be able to tell much of a difference in the moment, whether it's intrusive or whether it's real. So then, what you do have to, either way, right? The You have to acknowledge that maybe you are a jealous person, and you do like hold that kind of like point of view, and that it's not a good look for you, because if you're not able to even acknowledge that there's a part of you that can be jealous at times, then you won't even work on it. You will spend more energy in resisting that label rather than actually working on your beliefs about it, right? The same, and that goes for any theme as well. If you feel like, let's say, you are, I don't know, what if you're a rude person? Or what if you are a disgusting person? What if you are an XYZ kind of person? we spend most of our energy trying to resist that kind of categorical label or something. And so all our energy goes into just that, but not actually looking at the beliefs. So you really need to also think about, if even you were a jealous person, which in that moment, in that situation, is one of your worst case scenarios, that you are a jealous person. If that were true, how can you at least work on it? Because jealousy is not like a permanent fixture of a personality. It's driven by your beliefs and perspectives about yourself and other people, right? And I think, like, when we also talk about like the larger conversation around consumerism in general as well, there is this notion of, like, there's like a notion that is, I think, that people uh, absorb as well subconsciously, which is that if another person is having something, then there's less for you, and then you won't be able to have it. Whereas a lot of people can have exactly the same thing almost in equal amounts, and even if not in equal amounts, more or less like in similar amounts as well. And I think just that thing of like, oh, because another person has now done this or they've had this, then therefore I'm not going to be able to have that share, is then what drives the jealousy factor. And that's where it's also like, why am I not on top, right? Because if the other person is on top, for me to come on top, I have to somehow decrease their gains in order to increase mine somehow. Whereas that doesn't need to happen. You can just increase yours, and that's all you need to do, right? And that goes for anything really, right? That even goes for, like, again, whether you think that someone else has an attractive partner and you want an attractive partner as well, whether someone has more money, whether your partner's ex was, like, better in some aspect, whether it was in the bedroom, whether it was like a physical trait, whether your friend has a better job than you, they make more money than you, they have a better house than you, they have more, I don't know, cars or whatever it is that you prioritize and you want for yourself, right? But jealousy, I think, like, and we also, like, the podcast and everything that we listen to, like, we live in a massive hustle culture as well, which is just like, you have to, like, just like earn and maximize. And what are some of the YouTube ads that you get? What are some of the ads that you get on Instagram? All of it is about uh like quick money schemes, right? On how you can just, like, you can earn like $100,000 in just like 2 months or 3 months and things like that, right? Like, everyone is just trying to just find shortcuts and whatnot. And if you are not finding that quick scheme, and if you're not like if you're not maximizing on that and utilizing that, then you are somehow losing in society, right? So looking at all the factors that are influencing that, and you also then have to think about what is the kind of content that you're consuming, because a lot of people's jealousy is also based off of the content they consume. So typically, and this is just like a, I'm not saying this is fixed on that, but for example, typically I see this in men who are like, your finance bros kind of thing, who are also into like crypto and that side of things, and just like who are trying to be some kind of like tech giant or something, right? Like, this is like a combo that I often see. And a lot of them would be listening to a lot of these super ultra, like, kind of like alpha motivational kind of like podcasts and things like that as well. And then they want to follow that blueprint and template of success and achieving things, and just being this like big personality and everyone loves them and everything. So that's like a typical thing. But I mean, of course, like, I think jealousy is often associated with women, for example. um, but I think, like, it's just as much prevalent amongst men. At least the OCD sufferers men that I that I work with, they equally have that, because because then the self-deprecation aspect is like really intense. It's like, another person has this and I don't, I'm worthless. And that's the main problem. It's okay to want things in your life. There's nothing wrong with having goals and wanting to pursue them, but it's the it's like like this gigantic pressure that you attach to it and the meaning that you attach to it, because the moment that you don't get it, or you maybe don't get it as quick as another person, you go into just like completely burying yourself in criticism and just this cynical view of yourself of being a worthless failure, right? I don't know if is there a worthy failure? Someone who is a worthy failure? I don't know. I've never heard of that term. Maybe there is a worthy failure as well. Who knows? Anyway, just uh, just me thinking about things. But but and that is then the main problem, because then that drives demotivation, that drives anxiety, that drives fear, that drives anger. Anger then becomes a huge problem with people who are jealous as well, because then they get really frustrated with not being able to achieve the things that they really want to achieve. And other people then getting those things and being happy and celebrating, they can't stand that then, and therefore it comes out in anger, either towards like outwardly anger, or even anger just towards your own self, for like, why did I not think of this before? Or why did I not do this before? Why did I not work harder? Why did I not do XYZ? Blah, blah, blah. Why do I not have this that the other person has? So, this, again, the beliefs that I mentioned earlier, I think those are key in breaking down when it comes to jealousy of any sort, whether it's relationship, whether it's career, or your house, or whatever, or the kind of partner you want in life. Um, Even with kids, by the way, this happens, like people who are parents, and you see this in school cultures, like parents are competing with each other of like whose kid is doing what, and whose kid is on top, and whose kid is better at this, and whose kid is achieving this, and my kid is doing this, oh your kid is doing this but mine does this. um Mine also like has this like super like, this smart gadget or something like that. Does your kid have it? Like, and people are then like, and I've actually seen this, people are then also encouraging their kids to socialize with like the richer kids, or the kids that have more, or who have more social clout. And because they're like, oh, because if you socialize with them, or if you're like hanging out with them, then you can be in better company, or you can be more prominent, and you can do this and that. And it's just like, what? Like, but parents are like doing that as well, so you can even have jealousy from like little kids as well, to be honest, or parents of other kids that your kid goes to school with, or something. Like, it's a little freaky out there these days. But I think like there's, yeah, it's not great. It's not great. So it's not just OCD sufferers. I think it's also just the overall competitive culture that we live in as well. But that doesn't mean that just because we live in such a culture that we have to completely fall victim to it and we're helpless towards those feelings. You can definitely, like, I live in that culture as well, but like, and of course there's a sense of competition that I do engage with, but then I also do keep myself in check overall. If I'm not, let's say, achieving the same things that as other people are, like, I mean, I think I have a good head on my shoulders now, I think, where I don't go into a spiral of then feeling like I'm some, like, I'm a worthless piece of trash or something like that. Because, I mean, I don't know, makes no sense to me. Does this look like trash? I don't think so. I don't see trash. So again, looking at those beliefs is key. I think breaking down those beliefs is really key. That's where you'll find your breakthroughs. I think making peace with, for example, in a relationship context, making peace with that, maybe your partner does still find something fond or special about their ex. I mean, they were in a relationship after all, so you can't expect them to completely like discard like a previous relationship on all fronts just because the relationship didn't work out. In fact, relationships breakups can be quite amicable as well. So I mean, like the same as also being seen as maybe less competent as a person, that other people were more competent and therefore they got the things that you wanted but you didn't. maybe being seen as less competent, maybe not just being seen as less competent, maybe even being, I mean, accepting that maybe you are a little less competent, which doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that maybe there are certain skill sets that you don't have as much. You can still work on honing in those skills and bettering those skills, but for the time being, as it stands in the present moment, maybe somebody else's skills are better than yours, and that's fine. You might not be able to have 100% of what you want, but maybe you have, let's say, a 40% level of what you want, and that's still something. And you can further build on it, or you can choose to be like, maybe I'm okay with the 40% as well. So, because you don't need to be, you don't need to have the 100% to be fully happy. So, working on those beliefs, and I think accepting that maybe there are some things you may not have, and you may be a little less on some kind of imaginary ranking list, is really important. But I hope this helps. And if you want me to go into like jealousy with like specific areas in life, I can go into that as well, because obviously I think jealousy is a wide topic, and I'm sure relationship OCD sufferers like really might want to hear more about this. But like in general, if there's any area, I can either do an article on it or I can do a video on it, and yeah, we can take a look at what's going on over there. So I hope this helps. I hope you find insights over here. Again, if this is a topic that you're struggling with, I can help with that. Come in for one-to-ones if you haven't, and let's see where we go. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you in another video. Bye.